Malawi, and also just work in Liberia. And obviously, SCI has been working in a lot of different countries. I'm just going to go through the different steps that we take in order to get from starting in the country to how we end up at treating almost about 100 million or 100 million treatments. So currently, SCI, we're working in about 17 different countries. We've got various programs, and we've got multiple investors. So every country we work in is slightly different, and a lot of them are at different stages as well. So some of them are startup, they've never had programs running before. Some of them are in the scale up, they've had a few treatments sponsored by SCI or other investors, and also some are moving towards the elimination. Again, the number of years that we've been working in the countries varies. Some of them, as Alan mentioned earlier, have been working for about 12 years, whereas others maybe 1 or 2 years. In addition to just the treatment campaigns that we do, we also do a lot of research in the countries, and also some of the countries we work in, we do small pockets of the country, whereas other countries we do a national program. Okay. So, stages of an SCI program. It's not just we go into a country, we get some donation from President Banto, we get given some money, and then suddenly we're 100 million treatments delivered. So there's these various stages that we go through, engaging with the country through to the final sort of community distribution. So I'm just going to talk through these. So initially, in a brand new country, we want to start engaging with the country. So this is to generate sort of political commitment. We wanted to make sure that the countries that we're working in are going to provide us with the resources that we need, and that they need to establish the program and to make sure that we can move through with it and that it actually follows through. So first of all, we need government commitment, such as the development of a national NTD program, strategic plan. In Malawi, we created one in about 2008. This is a 4 or 5 year master plan, and we're just about to start another one for the next 5 years. We also need sort of country-led engagement. Either the country will come to us and say we need some support, and can you please provide us with this, or other NGOs will also maybe come to us and say there's a need in this country for some support in the Schistosomiasis program. Would you be willing to come and work with us? But also in the country, we need to set goals and targets. We either want a reduction in morbidity, we're going for elimination, or is it just technical assistance? So these are some of the things we talk about when we start working with them. Then we'll move on to financial and program planning. So at the beginning of every year, we need to set up what we're going to be doing for the next year. First of all, we draw up contracts between ourselves, Imperial College, as well as the country. And this alone can take up to like 6-7 weeks just to draw up these contracts. It's quite a lengthy process, so there's quite a lot of work involved in that. We then will develop annual work plans, such as this one, to see the different stages of the program, what we're doing, whether it's strategic planning, when this needs to be done, advocacy, mapping, the MDA training. So we need to map out for the entire year what we're doing each month to make sure that we're hitting our targets and to make sure that the program is running smoothly. So at the beginning of each year, one of our program managers will go out to the country and we'll spend a week or 2 with the countries and sort of develop an annual work plan. Then we need to create our budgets and the costing of the activities. Again, this can take a while. We'll draw up the budget, we send that back to our managers, they'll go through it, they'll reassess it, they'll say, no, you need to slim this down or maybe add this in here. So again, this takes a lot of work in collaboration between ourselves at SCI as well as the country and our sort of senior managers as well as our donors. And then we need to ensure that all the funds are in place to reach and carry out all these activities. Okay, so one of the first things we need to do is we need to map in the country where the disease is, how many people we're looking to target, and make sure that we're carrying out the treatment in accordance with the WHO guidance. So I'm just going to take the example of a brand new country that we started working in. It's unmapped, we don't know, we only have a little bit of an idea of where the disease is, but we don't know specifically where in the country we need to target and how the prevalence in the country is distributed. So we need to create a prevalence map, but how do we get to that stage? So for Liberia, we've recently finished our mapping and we've got this nice prevalence map, but it's taken us a few years to get to that stage to work out where we need to be working and how frequently. Okay, so we've got Liberia, we've got an untreated population. So what we'll do is we'll do a phase 1 mapping, depending on our funds and depending on the capacity in the country of how many people are trained. We'll do a phase 1 select, say, 30 children per school in certain areas, and we'll test them for schistosomiasis. And then you can see up here, it's a little bit faded, but in a certain area in the country, maybe 3 counties to start with, we'll start testing in all the schools. And this gives us some idea of where the prevalence is in the country. We'll then go on to phase 2 mapping. So we've completed phase 1, so that's in the blue. That's say year 1. And then in year 2, we'll then go to a different part of the country and again map that area. So we can begin to build up this prevalence map. So eventually, we have this nice picture of where in the country we need to be targeting and how frequent. So going from this, we then, using the WHO guidelines, we build up, we know the areas which are low endemic, so for a prevalence below 10%, so we treat them once every 3 years or in their first year of primary school and their last year of primary school. Prevalence areas which are about 10 to 50%, we want to go in and treat them every 2 years. And then if we've got prevalence in an area above 50%, we're ideally wanting to treat them every year. But as you can see, in a lot of our countries, it's quite difficult to think this because a lot of the areas are high prevalence in one area and low prevalence in another. We need to work out a strategy of how we're going to carry this out and how we're going to train up the people in the country and how we're going to implement this on a yearly basis. So once we know where we need to treat, we then need to sort of build up capacity and train everybody in the country. So we generally work with the teachers because a lot of our programs are school-based, but we also work with the health, sort of community drug distributors or health surveillance assistants. So we train them up in the biology of the disease, how to carry out the treatments, as well as sort of just health education to promote schistosomiasis knowledge in the communities. So using sort of training manuals, such as this one that we created in Malawi, we give this out and we begin a cascade of training throughout the country. So the Ministry of Health, their central team, using certain training manuals, they'll then go out to areas in their country, so like it might be the province or it might be the region, and they'll do some training, and then they will then move on to the next level, so it might be a district, it might be a county, and they'll train trainers and supervisors, so maybe 20 or people in those districts, and then they will then move on to then train 50 health workers per school, or per district, sorry, or 50 health workers per area, as well as teachers. But it's very dependent on how many people you're looking to treat. So you might have one community health worker for every school, or you might have 2 if it's a really large school. So the next stage, once you've trained all the teachers and trained all the health workers, you want them to go out and spread the message about schistosomiasis. You want to make them go out into the community, spread the word. We're doing a treatment day here, we're doing a treatment day there. It's really important you come along, just to emphasise the point that they need to come along for the treatment. So they go out into the villages and they talk to the community leaders, they talk to the school children, and just spread the word about schistosomiasis and the days. But it's quite an important stage. If this social mobilisation and sensitisation is done badly, it can lead to quite a few problems with our coverage. Low coverage in particularly in non-enrolled children. If they're only focusing on the schools, they're not going out to the communities are not learning about the treatment, so they're not coming along. So we might see a very low coverage in school children. They also might have quite a lot of adverse events. We're meant to tell them you need to eat a good breakfast, so when you take the treatment there's less chance of having severe adverse events, feeling sick and dizzy and things. So if these health workers are not communicating this message properly, again we could have quite a lot of problems. Again, we could have low compliance. If they're not aware of how many tablets they have to take, because they might have to take up to 3 to 4 tablets, and they don't understand why they're taking tablets. So it's really important that when we're training these health workers, that we're training them properly. And finally, we might end up with a mass hysteria situation. This has unfortunately happened on one occasion, and where one person might get a little bit sick and feel a little bit uneasy, and then somebody else will begin to also feel that as well. And it might end up with 30 children starting feeling faint and feeling very sick. So again, just need to reiterate the point that we really need to keep up and do a really good job with the sensitisation. So some of the things that we do is we hold community meetings, and here we've got NHSA in Malawi, which is speaking to the villagers, speaking to the mothers and the children who are going to be receiving the treatment, just to explain what's involved. We do a lot of radio large launch days. They'll set up banners, they'll have t-shirts, everybody will bring out, just to sort of emphasise the point and make it a real sort of big event. And then again, like sort of print media, a lot of the newspapers will then also report on the treatments that happen. So as well as the sensitisation, we like to try and promote health education. So we want to try and build this into curriculum, and also just makes everybody aware in the community of what's happening and how to prevent the disease. So we use this to inform students about the treatments, but also highlight how they can improve their habits and their hygiene and sanitation to reduce the risk of infection. So at the bottom you can see, I think some of these are in Uganda and Tanzania, where they have treatment days or Schistosomiasis days where they speak to the entire community and try and get the kids really involved in the Schistosomiasis work. So the next stage, this is also sort of ongoing at the same time as you're doing the training and you're doing the sensitisation. We need to deliver the drugs to the communities. We also need to deliver the registers that we use to record all the children we're treating and other things like dose poles and manuals. So there's a lot of equipment that needs to move, and this alone as well is quite a big task. So we need to have quite a good, somebody in country who's very good with the logistics of this. So the organisation and delivery of the drugs has to be organised a few weeks in advance before the treatment begins to make sure that everything is available on the day of the treatment. If you don't have dose poles, obviously you can't carry out the treatment. If you don't have the register, you're not going to be able to record how many treatments you've done. So again, we can have some challenges with clearance of drugs, getting them into the country. You can maybe sit in court for a few weeks or just getting them cleared. We need to send all the equipment to various areas, and this can be quite difficult. I'm sure, as many of you are aware, some of the roads in the country that we work are not necessarily the easiest to pass, so getting a lot of our equipment can be quite difficult. And also just the storage of the equipment. Some of the countries as well, they don't necessarily have one storage container that is solely theirs. So we need to make sure that everything is stored in a safe environment. With the drugs as well, we need to make sure that we're constantly rotating them. So we tend to work on a first in, first out basis with the drugs, so we make sure that we're not there's drugs that are due to expire sitting in the back of the warehouse. So we need to make sure that we're rotating the drugs. So once we've got all the equipment in the communities, we've done the sensitisation, we then go ahead and do the mass drug administrations. So these are generally community-led through the village health workers and the teachers in the schools. So this is after maybe a high-profile launch. So what we do, on the day of treatment, we want the children to wash their hands because they're going to be taking some tablets. We then want them to make sure that they've had some food in their stomach, like I said before, to avoid some adverse events. Then we measure them with the dose ball here to work out how many tablets that they're due to receive. And then we'll make sure that they take the tablets. So we want to make sure that obviously we're watching every child who takes the tablets, and that alone in itself can also be quite difficult. Getting them to swallow 2 or 3 tablets, and praziquantel isn't very nice tasting, so they don't always comply with that. So the other part of our programme, we do carry out treatments, and we've been very successful in SCI. We've managed to treat 120 million, or carried out 120 million treatments. But we need to understand what impact this is having on the children and on the disease itself. So we also do a lot of monitoring and evaluation. So this assesses the impact of treatment, how it's been successful. It provides feedback, so we want to know how the affected communities are working, and we also want to show progress to our donors. We want to, if there's any issues in the programme, if we've not managed to reach a certain group, we want to know why we're not reaching them and what we can do to improve to reach that community, And then we also want to know specific data on the factors that are influencing them, and also whether the financial resources that we have are actually being used appropriately. And advocate for future funding and support. So one of the first stages is just process monitoring. We want to know what we're doing, how it's being done, and just to make sure that all the stages that I've just spoken about, they're carried out appropriately and how they can be improved. And then we also want to do some performance monitoring. So we want to know what proportion of individuals needing treatment were actually treated. So we aim, every country has maybe different targets. We aim to reach at least 75% coverage in school-aged children. But is this possible, and do we know this? So we get the reported coverage from the registers, and every community will then feed back to the district, who will then feed back to the central level, and then we'll also get a report on how many people they've actually managed to treat. But sometimes this is a little bit off. So we do performance monitoring. So what we'll do, we generally do what we call a coverage survey, or a CAP survey, so the knowledge, attitudes and practices as well. So we want to know in the villages how many people are actually taking the treatment. So we'll do a validated reported coverage rates. So as you can see here, one was carried out in Malawi a couple of years ago, and we've got the reported coverage was at say 86% in some communities, but when we went out it was actually higher than they reported, which was great. Whereas in other communities, they reported that they'd reached an 87% coverage rate. But in fact, when we went out and spoke to people on an individual basis, they'd actually only 66% of them had said that they had actually taken the tablets. So this is really important for us to know how many people are actually being treated. We can also break this down by subgroups, males, females, school-enrolled children, non-school-enrolled children, so that we can determine what groups of people we maybe need to target a little bit better. And then we can also use this to assess the knowledge and attitudes. So some people might be scared to take the drugs, so maybe we need to have a little bit more emphasis on how safe the drugs are. We need to spend more time educating them about that, or they don't know anything about schistosomiasis. We need to spend more time in communities just getting the message across about how to avoid it. And also just understand reasons for high and low coverage. There might be some communities that just don't take any sort of vaccines, they would never take any drugs, and we need to know where these pockets are so that we know how to target them a little bit better. So the last impact monitoring, we also need to work out how this is impacting the actual child's health. Is this reducing the mean intensity of the disease? Are we getting rid of the number of eggs that these children have in their stomach, or in their bladder, sorry. And then also the reduction of those who are actually heavily infected. So by doing this, we have what we call sentinel sites in the countries. So we do longitudinal cohort studies to monitor the health impact that we're having through the treatments. For example, in Yemen, they've set up various sentinel sites, and we'll go back to these sites on a yearly basis. So before the first round of treatment, we'll do a baseline study. We'll have about 125 children in each school over various ages, and we'll test their intensity of infection as well as the prevalence. We'll then give them their first round of chemotherapy, preventive chemotherapy, and then before the next round of PCT, we will then do a follow-up to see the reduction in the mean intensity, and we do this before each treatment that we do. Two stages, we have the cohort, so it's a group of children that we follow every year before the next round of treatment, as well as a cross-section of the youngest age group in the school to see if there is a reduction in those who have never been treated as well. So some of the things we look for during this sentinel site activity, we look for the number of hematobium and Mantonite eggs and see if there's a drop in intensity. We also look at morbidity indicators, so like blood in the urine, anemia, and like wasting foods, like stunting, height, and like age and sex. We also collect some additional data on the water and sanitation, routines, and what kind of state they're in, as well as like parasitic material for like analysis for future studies. So these are just some graphs that were taken from Niger, 2004 to 2009. As you can see, through our M&E activities, the sentinel sites, we can see a reduction in the mean prevalence just from baseline to year one follow-up is quite high. And then we've got quite a low mean intensity after 5 years of treatment. And then over here for anemia, again, we can see the reduction, which we hope to be assumed from the present amount of treatment. So in summary, for a successful program, we need all these different stages. So it's quite a lot of work for us in the country, and yeah, it's quite difficult and quite intensive to carry out.